Hello, welcome to the Instant Insights podcast. At Global Data Strategic Intelligence, we track over 100 tech, industry, ESG, and macro themes impacting all major sectors. I'm Thomas Pothalingam, and today I'm joined by Rob Pritchard, Principal Analyst at Global Data, to talk about workforce diversity in the telecommunications companies. Hi, Rob. I hope you're well.
Thomas, yeah, very well, thank you.
You recently published a report assessing workforce diversity in UK telecommunications companies, which is
Yeah,
highly relevant given the direct performance benefits that an increasingly diversified and more representative workforce brings for customers and employees alike. I'd like to begin by asking, why are we covering diversity, equality, and inclusivity, or DEI reporting, and what kind of things are now covered by DEI?
first of all, it might be strange that a white middle class male in his 50s is covering diversity, but the flip side to that is it is a relevant issue for everybody, and so it's not just a niche thing. It's something that spreads right across businesses and all society. So that's my excuse for covering this. And essentially, what we're looking at are issues of gender, ethnicity, disability, neurodivergence, which is one area I fit into, and then sexual orientation. So those are sort of key top level areas that we're covering.
Thanks for that explanation. I'd like to dig into that in more detail. What are the commercial requirements for telecommunications companies to quote unquote do diversity?
I think the first thing is to think about the obligations, the benefits of embracing diversity. It's essentially you have to look at it in a number of aspects. First of all, it reflects the customer base more. Not all customers are as they were, so to speak, especially in technology. It's changing very rapidly and getting more youthful and certainly getting more broad-minded, should we say, in its approach to social attitudes and so on and so forth. It also attracts the right talent because there is a talent war going on, and Generation Z in particular will put a company's culture and its attitudes ahead of things like pay. So there are means by which to attract the best talent, as well as reflecting what customers look like. And also, there's a lot of evidence that provides that shows that non-diverse teams go into sort of groupthink. And so the more diverse team you have, more diverse people you have considering effective work, means you'll get alternative views and alternative opinions. And so you're less likely just to carry on settling for what you've done forever. And you'll be able to think out the box a bit more. So that helps in that sense as well. But there are also some studies by the likes of McKinsey and Harvard Business Review, people like that. So, proper studies from well-informed folk, which have drawn a correlation between diversity and commercial success. So there's evidence as well as common sense behind it.
The report also discusses the context in which companies in the industry sit, noting how telcos are evolving from the tick box era of corporate social responsibility to provide more sophisticated insights. Do regulation, investors, and talent also help drive diversity?
They do increasingly. I mean, there's this saying that the USA innovates, China imitates, and the EU regulates. And certainly in this area, there's stronger regulation coming through. And often it's worth noticing that often things that people aren't too sure about coming out of the EU in terms of regulation, they actually percolate around the world quite a lot, even in this current era of deglobalization. So there is definitely regulation involved, and that goes from anything from setting targets to just simple reporting what your performance is. And that's increasingly being embraced by the C-suite because they recognise that they have to do it, but also primarily they're motivated by the fact that they know it's a good thing to do. And again, investors are more and more interested in diversity as an aspect they'll look at, again, based on the evidence of commercial success and improved thinking and innovation. And as we said before, the talent is driving it as well. There's a limited pool of really good people, especially as sort of the global birth rate, or the first world, if you don't mind me using that expression, birth rate is falling. It means that we're going to have to draw on a far wider pool of talent. And so that embraces, therefore, all aspects of diversity.
So following on from that question, how has the UK tech market progressed in relation to diversity over time?
It's made good progress, to be honest. In the report, we look at the targets that people are setting. There are patches here and there where people aren't yet reporting, but then most of the 10 companies we look at have set targets for a few years out. Most are progressing towards it. what is clear is that this isn't something that happens overnight. So diversity, funnily enough, has been most progressive, should we say, at the C-suite, largely because the C-suite has a shorter life expectancy in work than the rest of the company, the rest of the employment base. There's been evidence that within the analysis that comes out quite clearly that it starts at the top and permeates its way through down the organization.
So you've spoken about how the UK tech market has progressed over time. What does that mean in terms of the commercial requirement for suppliers and customers?
Thank you. I mean, what I've noticed is that even this week I've had some talks with people like BT, and they were talking about aspects of sustainability in their case, the prevalence of ESG targets within customer contracts and RFPs, and it's certainly growing. And that's largely driven by sustainability, but also by diversity. And one of the companies that I analysed for this report, they actually are using diversity benchmarks in their choice of suppliers. It counts for, I think it's 5% of the total assessment of a potential supplier. This company spends, I think it is 18 billion euros a year through suppliers. So that equates to sort of like 950 million euros of contract availability purely on diversity. So, there's a commercial reason to do this in terms of just the boring old accounting side of things, but also there's commercial imperative because of the strategic direction. There will be people who will be sort of anti-woke and won't enjoy this, but I think I'd rather be woke than comatose. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
If we look at the final sort of evidence of looking at the companies I've covered, the majority of them are now have CEOs who are women, and that covers people like BT, Vodafone, Colt, so forth. So that in itself is the evidence of the direction of travel, and I think it's good for business and it's good for society. So it's all good news as it stands.
Excellent, of course. Thank you very much, Rob, for these insights. You can find their report on workforce diversity on one of our intelligence centers. Thank you for listening, and from us in Strategic Intelligence, see you next time.